Good afternoon. Thank you for coming to the talk. My name is Vita Markman. I am a staff software engineer at LinkedIn, and this is a joint work with a manager of business analytics, Yanzheng Zhang. Topic-based sentiment analysis, mining member feedback, and social media for actionable insights. So what is this talk about? Well, it is about mining raw text for key topic phrases, obtaining sentiment about these phrases, and then finding more context to explain the sentiment. Just so that from the beginning I will explain topic-based sentiment is also sometimes known as aspect-based sentiment, and it's sentiment attributed to a specific topic in a document or an aspect of a product versus sentiment of a document as a whole or a product as a whole. More frequently, you would see it in a context of, let's say, phone reviews that would separately review battery life versus camera, et cetera. So let me situate this a little bit more in some broader context. For example, in any company, in this case at LinkedIn, we have lots of text data about our products. It comes in various forms. In this talk, I will address primarily social media data that mentions, say, LinkedIn in some broader category like jobs, or LinkedIn in some broader category like inbox. But you could also think of this raw text data coming from customer support tickets or member feedback of any kind related to either a specific product, like who viewed my profile, or just some broader people visiting the homepage, et cetera. So this is a lot of raw text. In this talk, as I said, I will focus primarily on the text that comes from social media posts. And why would one want to mine this text? Well, there is two reasons for it that are that I will sort of focus on here. One reason is really sentiment related. So business analytics and product owners, various stakeholders in the business want to know what people are saying about them when they contact customer support, or what people outside are saying them when a new product is launched. It's a very frequent thing that people sort of are interested in finding out. And so usually you would get like this stream of raw data, and it mentions some broad, loose category like jobs and LinkedIn. And then what are people saying about jobs with respect to LinkedIn? It's a very broad question to ask. So what we want is a sentiment-related rationale for it is to obtain the more actionable information that requires a greater nuance. So what specifically do people like versus dislike when they mention your company and a particular product or broader area? There is a second reason that is more content-related, which is when you look at a raw text on some broad topic A and some raw text on some broad topic B, you would notice that they may have different semantic landscapes. So there is micro topics that are mentioned in one that are not mentioned in the other. So for example, if you have a collection of text about LinkedIn that mention jobs in some form and another collection that mention LinkedIn in inbox, you would notice that the types of things people talk about in one is very different from the other. And it's useful to find out what are these topic landscapes. So if you present it to a product owner and say, well, when they mention inbox, they talk about in-mail policy, or they talk about member communication or talent support, et cetera, you kind of get some sense of what specifically is mentioned. So with that, I will turn to the challenges that I will be addressing in this talk. So first is discovering informative topics in a noisy text. Second is finding the sentiment about these topics. And third is explaining topic sentiment by some word attributes that give you more context. The data that I will talk about today comes from publicly available social media posts that mention LinkedIn and that are grouped into these very loose macro categories via keyword searches like jobs or inbox, for example. So what that means is we have this data that talk about LinkedIn and they mention jobs. And it could, by the way, be Steve Jobs, because this is all keyword based. And so you just are given this dump of text that you would can look at right here, some actual examples. The next big thing you've missed, LinkedIn's quest to get a job for everyone on Earth. Research shows that 75% of jobs are found through networking hashtag compared to 10% through advertisements, blah, blah, blah. Understanding networking and using hashtag LinkedIn as a tool to help you find a job, et cetera. So these are like the kinds of raw data we start with. And so what we want is we want to get some more nuanced sense of what this is about when people express when people mention jobs in LinkedIn. So I will begin with what is a topic in our sense. So a topic, I'm going to give a working definition, is an n-gram of size 2 or greater. In this case, it's actually 2 or 3 because because of the shortness of the posts of social media. That respects the following 2 conditions. It is a syntactically well-formed phrase, so it's a noun phrase or a verb phrase, and it is also semantically informative with respect to a given corpus. So something like talent solutions versus solutions of. So solutions of is a fragment. In-mail policy versus good day. So this is an important example here. If I tell you, I read this collection of posts and they are about good day. Okay, what does that mean? Somehow you didn't receive any information about it. But if I tell you they're about in-mail policy, some new in-mail policy that we have implemented, you got a little bit more information than you had before. That is because good day is, even though it's a perfectly well-formed phrase, it's actually not really informative semantically with respect to the corpus that you gave me, maybe because it's so frequent or something like that. Invitation to connect versus connect with, again, this is a fragment, the other one is not. So there is multiple ways in the literature of how to get topics. One possible method is you can Partofspeech tag your corpus and then define very well-known linguistic units like noun phrase, verb phrase, adjectival phrase, and just look for these patterns of Partofspeech tags. And that works fairly well when your corpus is sufficiently well-formed grammatically, has normal punctuation, doesn't have like millions of hashtags and fragments, etc. But it doesn't work so well on noisy text. In addition, it will pick up some semantically uninformative phrases like very good and greatly appreciated that are actually perfectly perfect phrases because a Partofspeech tagger doesn't know that greatly appreciated is not something you're interested in. It just knows it's some sort of adverb and some sort of participial. And so it would never distinguish between talented employees and good day because both are adjective noun patterns. The other method, which is what I will be talking about today, is that to make absolutely no reference to Partofspeech tags, which is suitable for noisy text, eliminate semantically uninformative phrases like good day, and eliminate fragments like CEO of. And this method is actually fairly simple, and I will illustrate this in this one box diagram because everyone has to have one, as one of the previous talks mentioned. So it requires you to start with 2 things. First, you take your corpus and you separate it into literally the n-grams as they come. So the book on LinkedIn, in jobs, jobs on LinkedIn, recommendations, good morning, is looking, career opportunities, etc. And so you put these n-grams into some set and you keep it there. And then you do something sort of simple but interesting. You take a completely different corpus from someplace else. In our case, it's a corpus of like publicly available articles that people write on LinkedIn, whatever. It could be anything, as long as it's not that corpus that you were looking for to understand the topics of. And then you separate them into tokens, and you take the top upper crust 1,000 words from that other corpus. Usually, and not usually, necessarily, it will involve the common stop words, the, of, is, and, blah, 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 blah. But it will also involve a lot of words that are not stop words, that are just frequent adjectives like good and great and take, give, have. All these verbs and, that are kind of not necessarily very informative for the purposes of understanding what the topic is. And then you simply do the following. You look in through the n-grams and you say, because my n-grams are so small, they're just 2 or 3 words long. If the n-gram begins or ends with one of these words, I take it out. It's not interesting to me. Because this eliminates immediately all the fragments, because a fragment is something that would end in an of or the. It would also eliminate uninformative phrases like take care or the book, because even though it's not a fragment, but it is, it's 2 words long, and one of those words contains a really frequent word that you see everywhere else, so you kind of don't care to it doesn't really give you enough information. And it would leave things like career opportunities or jobs on LinkedIn, because on, even though it's in that frequent list, it's actually embedded nicely inside of a phrase. And so you do that, and you can use some stopping criterion. So you pick, for example, you want to say, I only care about these phrasal n-grams, which I will refer to as topics, if they appear n times or greater. In some cases, you actually don't care about the count, and sometimes you actually want to get something that's really rare, but it's really a well-formed phrase, because it might be interesting to you. Maybe because your customers are mentioning something even 3 or 4 times, but it's something really important and you want to look at it. It depends on your goal. For social media, because there is so much data, you probably would want to have a stopping criterion at some point. So this is a very simple algorithm that I just went through. So you define an external word list, then you separate your corpus into n-grams, and then you step through this n-gram set. And if the first word and the last word are not in a phrase, are not in the external word list, you add it into the topics, and you would get things like business development, hiring manager, profile on LinkedIn, and you would eliminate things like development and to hiring and good morning. So you have obtained these topics, and now you want to understand when people mention things like professional network or business development, are they happy or sad about it? Is this a good thing or a bad thing? So we propose the following algorithm for obtaining topic sentiment that is also very simple. We find for each topic all of the clauses that contain that topic. Because the social media posts are very short, usually one post is one clause, but that doesn't necessarily have to be that way. So we'd separate it and get actual clauses from the posts. And then we will rate each clause for sentiment using a trained SVM model that was trained on social media data, on label data, and then we are going to label these new examples. So for instance, this is an actual example. LinkedIn is the world's top professional network. So it mentions professional network, and it has a rating of positive from the SVM. Or I use LinkedIn a lot for business development, also has a positive rating by SVN. And then we aggregate all of the rated clauses to get a majority vote on each topic. So if let's say business development appears in 1,000 clauses, and it has this distribution of sentiment, that, given the clause ratings, then that's what the distribution of the topic is. So it's a majority vote kind of thing, which is nice because there is quite a bit of error as you see the recall and precision numbers, but we don't really care as long as most of them are right. So here I give specific distribution, but I might as well give it a binary, so it's positive if above 0.5 or negative otherwise or neutral otherwise. So that's the general approach that we take to obtaining the topic sentiment. But once we have obtained the topic sentiment, we want to dig deeper, and we want to understand why the sentiment is the way it is. So sometimes it's quite obvious if someone says, amazing social network or something like this, then you can kind of see in the topic itself, the words tell you why it's positive. But oftentimes it's not the case. So for instance, if you take a topic like LinkedIn, recruiters use LinkedIn, it's not obvious, the positive sentiment of it, it's not immediately apparent. So you want to get some more context. Every time they mention recruiters use LinkedIn, what else are they saying next to it? And so for each topic, we will then find all the words that appear in the same clauses as that topic T, and then maybe use some TF-IDF to retain the attributes, the word attributes that are informative of a given topic but are rare across topics. So attributes are basically words that appear in neighboring contexts of the topic and help explain why the topic is a positive, negative, or neutral. They can also be used to find semantically similar, more like synonymous topics and combine them together. But today, for the interest of time, I actually can't go into that. But you can imagine if someone says view profiles and browse profiles, it's basically the same thing. But view and browse are not obvious synonyms that you can look up in a dictionary, because you don't say view magazines and browse movies. They're quite context dependent. But if these two topics appear with very similar attributes, of word attributes next to them, then you can say, well, they're basically the same through context distribution. So some examples of attributes for a given topic: recruiters use LinkedIn, modern hiring, identify candidate, source, potential, interview, improve, executive, resume, hired, qualified, and recruit. So these are what sentiment literature likes to call like positive, happy words, or LinkedIn lead generation. Yeah.
So by positive attitude towards recruiters use LinkedIn, you mean among recruiters?
Among
so
whoever.
So these are recruiters who like to use LinkedIn. This is not the people who get the recruiters' mails.
We don't really know what it is. Yeah, but maybe, but apparently the social media has spoken, and appears that everyone who has posted has said good things about it. So LinkedIn lead generation is engaging, create content, secret branding, and potential. So it's hard to distinguish positive from neutral, but you can imagine, well, in some other context, positive and negative would have like really different distributions. And so that gives you a sense of why a particular sentiment is associated with a particular topic. And then moving on to the content-related reason, we want to say that if you look at this macro category of jobs in LinkedIn corpus versus inbox and LinkedIn corpus from which we started, they have really different landscapes of topics, which in some sense actually might be somewhat surprising or might not be surprising depending on how you look at things. So topics for job category involve, unsurprisingly, things like hiring manager, interview questions, LinkedIn recommendations, talent solutions, talent acquisition, and career opportunities. Whereas for the inbox category, it involves networking tool, lead generation, social network, LinkedIn invitation template, in-mail credits, in-mail on LinkedIn, sending multiple emails, friend request, etc. What is more interesting is that there are some topics that are not even present at all in one, but are present in the other. So while clearly jobs category mentions things like resume, career, hiring, and talent, while inbox mentions invitation, in-mail, and leads, frequent topics in the job collection like talent solutions and career opportunities are entirely absent in that other collection. And so it gives you a sense of separating these two types of things. So it gives you a kind of a semantic landscape that allows you to summarize each of these categories by the overall type of topic distribution that they have. So in sum, the proposal for topic-based sentiment approach that we have done and implemented, it works very well on language of social media, as well as in the more well-structured language of customer support interaction with members, because it removes uninformative and fragmented phrases like good morning or CEO of, while by leveraging an external corpus of text. And so this one thing, this external corpus of text, allows you to get rid of both the fragments, the syntactic fragments, and the semantically uninformative but perfectly well-formed phrases, which is good. It allows you to obtain the more actionable insights by looking at a nuanced topic-oriented sentiment, as opposed to trying to say when you got this firestorm of tweets, or if you have this firestorm of like social media data like going at you, what is this about? Well, I don't know, it's about many things. And so instead of trying to identify that, you want to separate it into a more topic oriented approach that gives you a semantic landscape of a collection of text A versus a collection of text B, and obtain sentiment related to each of these topics, which then you can get more information on by attributes that surround each topic in the context. In sum, this can be leveraged to summarize a variety of corpora regardless of the noisiness of the raw data. It doesn't have to be social media. It can be pretty much anything you want. Thank you.
So you mentioned you take out the fragments and also the sort of uninformative parts using this external corpus, and you look at the top 1,000. So how was that number chosen?
Basically, so this is as anything, it's kind of a trial and error. It is a heuristic. So the deeper you go, the more you run the danger of actually taking out something that does matter. And it depends on how resilient you are to loss of these important or sort of important things.
Are you left with the ones that you think are good candidates? Do you have another stage where you actually vet them somehow, whether they're actually good or not?
So at this point, we're basically just looking through them and looking at the counts. And so we're saying that the count will decide. Ideally, you could imagine looking at things like, well, does it contain frequent words that are frequent for this corpus? So if something contains LinkedIn a lot, then you kind of maybe don't care as much. there is other way to combine them using some language modeling technique and to know that a networking tool and LinkedIn networking are maybe related into this broader, more informative topic. The longer the topic is, the more informative it would be. Yes?
A very clear statement.
Thanks.
So when you made those attributes, you labeled them as like positive or negative or neutral. How did you judge neutrality? Is it just something that's not clearly positive or negative, or is there like a separate?
So let me correct this. Sorry, maybe I was unclear. So we rate the topics as negative or neutral by the sentences. The topic is neutral or negative or positive given the majority of sentences that mention this topic. The attributes are just they're not rated for sentiment at all. They're just words that appear next to it. And we hope, and sometimes our hope is justified, that they will shed light on why the particular topic is positive. So if it's like recruiters use LinkedIn and it's like hiring and jobs and career and growth, then you get the sense of why. We do not rate the attributes, which would be an interesting question in and of itself.
Topics,
Yeah.
You judge the neutrality of topics based on
the SVM model.
And if it's neither very positive nor very negative, you just say it's neutral?
Yes, it's extremely, so neutrality is I hate this category myself. I would always rather do a positive or a negative, because to me, if you talk about something I do and it's not negative, it's positive. But the literature sort of tends to take a more three-way approach.
Do you make any attempt to group the topics after you found them? Like, say you have career opportunities and employment opportunities.
Yes, I do have. So this is, as I said, we do use specifically the distribution of the topic in contexts of the attributes, which provide the context, by saying that employment opportunities is an excellent example, and career opportunities would be similar, but maybe some other word with opportunities like life opportunities and career opportunities are not, because of the distribution. So yes.
The similarity of the other words around.
Yeah.
And then have some.
Yes, that's the idea, the distributional similarity. 1 and 2?
Yeah, you use the second corpora to confirm your n-gram as topics.
Right.
What is that?
So in our case, it's a collection of articles, blogs that people publish on LinkedIn.
Do you also do n-gram for that?
No, just words. Just literally, so I only use it. It could be anything. It could be the New York Times. In fact, the farther it is, the better, because in my case, there is some overlap with LinkedIn because it's still from LinkedIn. So we literally use it as to obtain a bag of frequent words. Top frequent words is all I care about. If God gave them to me, I would take from there, but God isn't very good to me and doesn't give me word bags.
You also do the n-gram for that?
No, just words, just single words. N-grams, you could do that too, which is, but I like simple. The simpler, the better. The less work you can do if you can get away with it. Yes?
So, I guess, do you guys look at how things change through time? Like, I suppose all those associations change through time?
Sure. So this is fairly new, but this is part of the idea, is to use the simplest possible model to get the topics so you could look at them through time. Whenever you launch something or whenever you take something away, you want to understand what's happened. So yeah, thank you.